Hello, friends, and welcome to the finale of the Pokemon Black and White Nuzlocke with my friend Mike from the Show Boys podcast. Mike, how are you doing? We're here. We're at the end of season 1 already. It flew by.
Yeah, I'm very excited. We were so excited to record this. We recorded a week earlier than our
I
usual
know. I
recording
couldn't wait.
cadence. Uh, so yeah, I'm excited. This was a blast. I was very happy to finally play through
I know.
a generation that I have missed out on. And I have thoughts and opinions that we'll talk about, and I'm excited. Very excited.
Yeah. I know. This is a Black and White for me is a big one. And the fact that you hadn't played it yet, it was cool that you got to experience it. Lots of fun. But in the last episode, we ended with fighting the 8th gym, Drayden, and now we're heading towards Victory Road and the Elite Four. Before we start a team recap for me, I ended the last episode with Dave, the Venusaur. I have Doom Guy, the Dugong, Sire, the Embor, Nick, the Feraligatr, Bits, the Crocodile, and Retro, the Arbok.
Yes, and I left off with Snips the Superior, Flash the Manectric, Lemon Pepper, my faithful Skarmory,
That Skarmory, man.
Bugs, Bugs, my Flygon, Puffy, my Whaleren, and Elsa, my Frostlass.
Ooh, good team, good team.
Mhm.
So, heading up north of Opelousas City, we run into Professor Juniper, who gives us a Master Ball. Actually, not that I had anything significant to spend it on, because the rest of my encounters were garbage. Speaking of garbage, Route 17, I caught a Timber that apparently I didn't even consider naming, because I didn't write a name down for it at all. I mean, Kinkeldur's fine, but at that point, it was like a level 30-something Timber, and I was not going to train up a new Pokemon. My team was pretty set at that point, so I was like, nah, I'm fine. I don't need to worry about it.
Nice. Yeah. So Route 17, I think I talked about in the last episode because I did a little
That's right.
backtracking and exploring with knowing Surf and Strength and all that. So I caught like a Sawsbuck I named Bambi, and LGM named Pinky,
That's
Hitmonlee
right.
named Bruce, and Shieldon named Chonk, of course.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So Route 17 was the backtrack routes. Route 10 is the one north of Opelousas City. So my bad, my mistake. But I got a Route 10 encounter in the last episode. So as we're heading towards Route 10, we bump into Sharon, who wants to battle us. And I didn't lose anybody here, but for some reason, Sharon decided to have 2 Miltanks, and they were a problem. He had 2 Miltanks, a Garbodor, and a Samurai, and those 2 Miltanks just gave me so many issues. I had to keep healing and swapping back out because I kept using like rollout and paralyzing me with body slam. I did not appreciate having and 2.
Take you back to Whitney.
Yeah. I had PTSD flashbacks of fighting Whitney as a child.
Yeah. Insert the Jared Nom gif.
Exactly.
Sharon that battle is intense. His Embor and Drudgen. Is that how you say that? Drudigan. That's it.
Oh, interesting. He had different Pokemon for me. Maybe he did have a Drudigan. I just didn't. Did he have a Garbodor?
I think.
Oh, maybe I just didn't
like as soon as we finished recording last time, I like started playing again. So we're
it's been a minute.
Handful of days out.
Yeah.
But yeah, his Embor and Drudigan were very tough. I escaped with no casualties though, but it was an intense battle.
Tough fight, but no casualties either. And now we are here. We are at the gates of the Pokemon League, and similar, we have to go through like 8 individual gates so that someone can check our badges.
Say my catches on Route 10?
Oh, yeah. What'd you catch?
Okay, so I caught an Electabuzz I named Surge, obviously, from Lieutenant Surge.
I love Electabuzz.
Cophagrigus that I named Greg for some reason, and no reason.
No reason
I caught a Breloom that I named Cross after one of our stream partners at Show Boys, Ugly Kid Joe Cross. Shout out, he's a great streamer. Go check him out on Twitch, Ugly Kid Joe Cross. He's really funny, family friendly streamer. But he played after I streamed a run of Pokemon This Gym of Mine, he
I still need to check
then
that out.
streamed a run of This Gym of Mine, and the whole concept of that game, you pick a type at the beginning of the game, and then your gym leader, you can only use that type for your team. Well, he picked fighting, and Breloom ended up being his ace, and he like fell in love with this Pokemon. So it only felt fitting to name him Cross. And when I caught him, as you'll learn later in the episode, there were quite a few team shuffling moments for me this leg. And
wow, there wasn't very much leg left. It's just Victory Road and Elite Four at this point.
Yeah, it was the bloodiest chunk of the game for me.
Oh no! I'm excited to see what happens.
Yeah, so there's a little tease for what happens later. But Breloom was a Pokemon that I heavily considered putting on the squad, but I decided against it, even though I would have loved the fighting.
Yeah, grass fighting is good. Very weak to flying, though.
Yeah, and I already had. I have Snips, obviously, as a grass type, and he doesn't offer much else outside of that. So I decided against it, and then I caught to continue my trend of catching every starter across.
Did you catch another starter?
I caught a War Turtle, and I named it Jets.
Of course. Oh man, yes. You didn't want to level it up and rock a Blastoise for this last half?
Yeah, I could have had both Venusaurs and a Blastoise.
You could have had a whole team of starters if you wanted to.
Dude, I had a Charmander. I had
you have a Chimchar at one point.
Dude, I know. I have so many starters. I could have just did that, but I can't. I don't like.
I mix
like
it up
starters,
a little bit,
but I don't like using starters because
there's some games when I'll replay like older gens or something. I'll like get the starter and I'll box it immediately because I've used starters so much. So I was like, you know what? I don't want the starter. I'll use something else.
That's a great idea. I'm never brave enough to do that, but I feel like I always want to do that.
Yeah, I was like, I've used you enough. I've done my due diligence. I don't need to use you again. You're a great Pokemon, but I want something different. But yeah, so we're here in the variety of doors that lead up to the Pokemon League in which all of our badges get checked. Don't know why there's just not one guy in the beginning and one door where he's like, cool, you have 8, and then I get to go through. But this way's way more dramatic, and I actually did like that each area is themed for like the gym type. So that was really cool. I did appreciate that.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And I will say, though, after all the cool gym mechanics, I was a little bit let down at this part.
The baby ice puzzle and like floating across the cavern and the flying type one.
All that stuff's really cool, but I was maybe expecting some trainer battles or something in between these gates outside of just walking through using the new that gym's like gimmick, you know. There is that. I forget which gate it is, but there is a gate with a patch of grass, so there is like an encounter there. But outside of that, all other 8 or 7 gates, it's just you're just walking.
It's just a slight themed gimmick, and even it's only that grass one, the ice, and the flying are the only ones that have like gimmicks that kind of are integrated into you from getting from point A to point B, and the flying one's a stretch because you just walk forward and you kind of like hover over a cavern that has wind flying through it. So I wouldn't even go as far as to call that, integrating a mechanic. But I did get a encounter here. I ran into an Audino that I also did not name nor put on my team.
I caught
my team was pretty set in stone at this point, and I hadn't ran into anything yet that was going to mix that up.
Understandable. I mean, it's late in the game to mix up the team unless it's like a really special Pokemon. I caught a Noctowl as this was my last catch of the run.
You didn't do a Victory Road catch?
This is Victory Road, isn't it?
No, I caught this is in the grass in the doors that lead up to the Victory Road.
So no, I didn't.
That's where I caught Audino.
No, after all of these, or after this catch, I didn't catch any others because I was like, I'm not going to use any of these at this point.
Yeah. What did you catch?
But I had to catch Noctowl because I wanted one last Wing Sauce nickname. And I had caught one earlier in the game, but lost it due to my weird like boomer save issue.
Oh, that's right.
So I caught Noctowl and I named him Honey Barbecue, and then That was my last game.
Perfect name for an Octal. The one thing I'm excited. I know we're not even finished with this episode, but season 2 is like our naming themes that we're gonna go with. I'm so excited to see what our names are gonna be. And your wing names have been great.
Yeah, I think I need to because I didn't come into this with like a theme, but I think I want to next time.
Yeah, I'm gonna do a theme as well. I usually lean on the listener. Was what I did last time. I name after listeners, but I already did that this time. So next time I'm gonna come with some exciting theme to name my Pokemon.
Yeah. So if you have ideas, like comment somewhere.
Let us know
and tell us what our theme should be.
Somewhere.
Yeah, wherever these are, comment on it.
In Victory Road, I caught a Shroomish.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
I mean, sure. Yeah, I guess it was fine. I was like, okay, no, what's worse is there was like Electivire and there was like Gyarados and there was like a bunch of heavy hitters and I ran into a Shroomish. A Shroomish is what I ran into in Victory Road, which is not what I wanted. And I was like, fine, whatever. This Victory Road is really cool because it kind of like, in a lot of them, you're just in a cave. And this is a cave system, but you're slowly climbing up this mountain and you're going in and out of the Victory Road, sliding down hills and going up ledges. I really like the whole theme around this Victory Road. And it is, I don't want to say it's pretty straightforward because I got so lost trying to find my way through this, but it's relatively short. Like it's not a very long, if you like know how to get from A to B, then it's like, it's not very long at all. Like it's probably honestly one of the shorter Victory Roads that I've played.
Yeah. And, it has that like semi cone like 3D / like cylindrical feel where as you go from side to side, it does the camera rotation kind of, which is cool. One of the last cool little camera things you get as you head to the end of the game here. But yeah, Victory Road did not treat me well.
Okay, well, it seems like you had a lot of death, so I'll talk about mine because mine was relatively straightforward until literally the very, very end. So went through Victory Road, no problem. Didn't lose any Pokemon, didn't have any issues. There was a couple trainers that I didn't note down as being notable, but I do remember struggling a bit with some of these trainers. So get to the last trainer before you leave Victory Road, right? That guy did some damage to me. I was like, sweet, got some Pokemon have low health. My Venusaur is out front with maybe half health or so, right? Mind you, I did buy a lot of potions leading up to this. 0 potions at this point. Take literally half a step away from this person, run into a Pokemon. Okay, whatever. Ran into a Pokemon. I can see the exit from where I'm standing. Ran into a Ponyta. I'm like, oh, Ponyta, I have my Venusaur in it. That's not good. Go to run. Can't run. Goes for Fire Spin now. Now I can't run because if you don't know, Fire Spin traps you. Not only can you not run, but you can't switch. So I was like, okay, I'll go for an attack. The only damaging move that is really good is that I have for Venusaur is a Razor Leaf, and the other option is Double Edge. And if you don't know, Double Edge does recoil. So I was like, okay, I was using Razor Leaf, but that wasn't doing any damage. It was using Fire Spin, and ultimately, this random wild Ponyta killed Dave the Venusaur.
No. Oh, that's such
literally. I was done. I had finished all the battles.
Way to go.
I finished all the trainers, and it was a wild Ponyta that killed my Venusaur.
Wasn't even like, a Rapidash.
And that was the start of the sadness that happens in this end half of the game. But that was really it in terms of Victory Road. Mike, I'm curious as to the quote unquote slaughter that has happened in the Victory Road for you.
I don't know if it's as bad as what happened to you, because that's pretty bad.
Okay.
But it's real close. It could maybe arguably be worse. So, going through Victory Road, had spent a few times like stepping out of a cage on a ledge so I could fly back to town and heal up at the Poke Center. Even though I'm like Poke rich, because I haven't really been spending money. And I have like, I don't know, 20 super potions and like a handful of hyper potions. So like I don't need to keep flying back, but for some reason, I just like forget to use items. and I also have like an eyelash or something in my eyeball.
I was like,
right now,
also
so
Mike's
I'm
face
sorry.
is not working currently.
Yeah. But I just like, I'm an item hoarder, and for some reason I end up not using them. So
if I
which
use
is
them, then I
stupid.
won't have anymore. So if I
Right.
don't use them, then I'll always have them.
Exactly. Because what if I might need one? But then I never use it. Anyway, so I kept flying back to town, and I finally get to the part in Victory Road. I see the doctor. I'm like, okay, he's got the mask. This is
The
good.
doctor. I do remember you telling me
So I
about
go
this.
up. I got to battle him. Like, whatever. I've been smoking all these fools in here. So yeah, he killed 3, half of my team.
That when you told me this, that's the worst, because you're literally going to this man, you're trusting this man with the well-being of your
like,
Pokemon, and he just spits in your face.
Yeah, and then he has the audacity afterwards to be like, hey man, I'll hear your team up.
Want me to heal them?
So yeah, he killed Puffy, which made me so sad because I was so excited to use Whaleren. He had an Infernape that just obliterated Puffy
I
and
remember
Flash.
this Infernape,
like,
and it was a beast.
What did he have? It was close combat or
Close combat. He had a
dynamic
bulk
punch,
up as well. He
something.
had dynamic punch.
He one-shot both Puffy and Flash, which
Hate to see it, folks.
made me so sad. And then Bugs fell to a Beheim or Bayhem. I don't know how you say that.
Yeah,
Pokemon's
the
name.
evolution of Elgin.
Yeah. So yeah, I lost Whaleren, Manectric, and Flygon in one battle to the one guy
not
who was supposed to.
That's right.
He was supposed to heal my team and keep me going, but he betrayed me. So this is where my team shuffling takes place, and we had to replace obviously those 3. So I put I took Camerupt, named Goob, that I caught back on Route 18 in the last episode.
Camerups.
I took a Lantern named Jax. So Camerupt, if you don't know, ground, fire. I took Lantern, electric, water type, and then I decided to finally pull the trigger on using Frostlass, a Pokemon I've always wanted to use, which is Ice Ghost.
Frostlass
super
is
cool,
so good.
So I scooped up my Frostlass named Elsa. So those 3 join Snips, the Superior, Lemon Pepper, the Skarmory, and somebody else.
No, not Musharna.
Oh no, never mind. I'm sorry. Elsa was on my team from last episode. I honestly don't remember who replaced that 6th slot, because I did
more
have
switching
some
around.
deaths here in the Elite Four coming up, but I did switch. I kept switching in because after I got through Victory Road, I was nervous after this doctor wiped out half my team. So I'm like, I'm going to train up a little bit. Because obviously I had to replace half my team. So they were in their like mid 30s. So I had to get them up. So who the heck? Oh, I did catch something in Victory Road, and it was the Crocodile that I named.
You just caught a straight up Crocodile.
Yeah, and he was already in his low 40s. So I was like, all right, this is great.
Perfect.
I don't have to train this guy. So I named him Smokey, by the way. Shout out to a great dude, an old friend that I used to play League of Legends with all the time, named Smokey the Bear. And this is a perfect.
Smokey the Bear.
I know, he's got a great name, and he's just an awesome dude. But I had to name this Crocodile after him because anyone who's familiar with League of Legends might know a certain champion named Renekton, who is a giant crocodile. Well, my friend Smokey used to main Renekton in the top lane, so it's just like a match made in heaven.
It had to work. It had to happen. At that point, you cannot name it Smokey.
Exactly. So yeah, Smokey, the Crocodile, Snips, Lemon Pepper, Elsa, Jax, the Lantern, and Goob, the Camerupt, are my 6 going into the Elite Four.
Yeah. So with me, I had the normal squad. everybody except for the Venusaur, who I swapped out with my Shroomish, which I named Mistake from Your Mistake, Sir, in our Discords. And it kind of fit because I was upset that I got a Shroomish. But I also went to do a little grinding and got my Shroomish to evolve into a Breloom. I also caught mine low 40s, so I just need to level up once to get the Breloom. So not an issue at all. Again, the randomized TMs really just did us dirty in this playthrough because like my Breloom could, I taught him Wake Up Slap, which was good, but I had so many like good TMs. I had Seed Bomb, I had Drain Punch, I had all these good TMs that like Breloom could utilize, but I couldn't do it.
Yep. Yeah. I think out of all of the TMs and all the different Pokemon on my team throughout the run, maybe I might have been able to use 3 or 4.
Yeah.
And like one was Night Slash on Weevil.
Oh, well, that works.
One was Wake Up Slap on Wishcash.
I thought of a Wishcash Wake Up slapping someone is pretty.
I know,
pretty
right?
comical.
Lemon Pepper learned Drain Punch, which was absolutely clutch and amazing. But I think it might only have been those 3. Oh, I taught Elsa Mist Ball, and those were really the only TMs I could use across my teams.
I'm trying to think. Wake Up Slap was helpful with Breloom because my Shroomish had no stab moves at that point, so I had no fighting type moves at all. So Wake Up Slap was good. The only notable one that was good for me was my Emboar learning Shift Gear. Like Shift Gear boosting attack and speed. Emboar is already a heavy attacking mon anyway, so having a move that can boost my attack is really helpful. But other than that, TMs were not great in this playthrough at all. It was not a good time.
Yeah, so if you guys don't remember, that was part of the randomizing of the ROM. Pokemon could learn random TMs that they don't normally learn.
Random TM compatibility, which again, I told Mike this beforehand. Like, I've never had this much of a problem with it. Usually it's fine. Usually it's like, cool, my Emboar can learn Surf, or my something can learn this that it normally can't. But I couldn't teach Pokemon anything. It was wild.
Yeah.
But we are here. We made it out of Victory Road, and we are at the Elite Four. And after the devastation of losing my Venusaur and having a little baby Breloom, I was not super confident going into this Elite Four. But the whole cutscene leading up is really cool because at the very top of this hill, it's this big, like almost, Greek-looking structure with a lot of pillars and beams and architecture that looks really cool. And when we go in, we actually have the option of fighting any of the 4 in any order that we want. I think the one I fought, which was bottom right, I believe, or bottom left, was Caitlin. She's the one where you go in, it's kind of all gold and spacey, and she's behind the curtains and she's sleeping in a bed and everything like that. But how did you decide to which direction did you decide to go first, Mike?
I went bottom left and then went clockwise. But I don't remember that room being the first room, so maybe I started in a different one because I think the first room I
not
went
super confident that is that room either. So
okay, the first the first trainer I battled was in the room where it would have been like the psychic or ghost or dark type normally, because it was like you go up the windy staircase and there's like candles and stuff, kind of like.
Is it like the spooky room and the girl is at the? Okay, yeah, that's Chantel. So she is. I fought her second. So that was the girl I fought second. So we can just kind of go through these. So we'll start with Chantel there. Chantel for me was a piece of cake because Chantel has an Alakazam, a Gramble, a Girafarig, and a Hypno. 3 of her Pokemon were psychic types, and my Krookodile just destroyed her team. I didn't have any issues, and the Alakazam only knew psychic type moves, so every time I would send out Krookodile, she'd switch the Alakazam out to somebody else. Honestly, out of everything, the Gramble was probably the biggest issue, but even 2 crunches took Gramble out, so I didn't have any problems. And this was my problem too, is like I fought Caitlin first, and that she gave me a little bit of issues, and then I fought Chantel, and I was like, oh, this Elite Four is a piece of cake.
Yeah,
it's not a piece of cake.
This she was just, I mean, between
You have a Crocodile too now at this point.
Crocodile and Skarmory, knowing Drain Punch. I just, yeah.
Especially for that Gramble. The Gramble and Girafarig is half normal too, so that was helpful.
Yeah.
So moving on to the one that I did first, which is Caitlin in that psychic type room. She has an Ambipom, a Wailord, a Slowbro, and a Bastiodon. So this one I had a little more struggle with because she has 2 water types. And if you know my team is notoriously weak to water. Yes, I have a Breloom, but I have a Breloom. And Breloom's Giga Drain is not doing that much against the Wailord at all. I ended up getting out of this unscathed, but this one, being my first one, did not fare well for the rest of my Elite Four challenge. But how did you do with Caitlin?
I did a terrible job of taking notes. I had 2 deaths in the Elite Four before getting to N, or the champion. I didn't write down where they died, but just hearing that her team composition, I don't think it was here.
Okay.
Because, can you go through the team again?
Yeah, Ambipom, Wailord, Slowbro, and Bastiodon.
Yeah, I think I obliterated her because Skarmory or Lemon Pepper was my lead, so it absolutely annihilated Apabomb, or however you say his name. And then Snips just,
I was like, Snips probably just destroyed
straight through the rest of the team.
Yeah, and Bastiodon is rock steel, so that's not a problem at all.
Yeah.
Crocodile, even with the Slowbro, crunches took the Slowbro out fine, and then Dig on Bastiodon ×4 effective, so that was an issue. Yeah, so Caitlin moderately gave me an issue, but not anything too crazy. Chantel, piece of cake. The other 2, insane issues. Like, I struggled. So Marshall and Grimsley are the last 2.
Okay.
So Marshall's the one that is like he has like a gym. It's like the very mechanical. It's the metal. You ride the cart to the very top.
Yeah.
That's Marshall. Marshall leads with the Hariyama. He has a Mamoswine, a Relicanth, and a Lucario. This Hariyama was the bane of my existence. I'm pretty sure for one, I have nothing for Hariyama on my team. Nothing is going to take out this Hariyama. So I think I have my Embor out here, and my Embor dies here because it gets crit 3 times in a row from this Hariyama. Don't remember what the Hariyama did, but it just my team was left like in shambles after this. And then the Mamoswine. So actually, at the end of this fight, I had lost my Embor and I had lost my Dugong. Both of those Pokemon I lost in this fight, and then was able to get out, heal my team, and go into Grimsley. But man, Marshall's Hariyama was the worst to fight out of all of his team. Mamoswine's Earthquake was pretty bad too, but the other Relicanth and Lucario I didn't have issues with.
You went through the Elite Four before I did, and the only thing that you told me was about this Hariyama. Yes. You're like, this thing is a literal Mack truck, so just be prepared. He's a
problem. He was a problem. Be prepared.
Aside from like vaguely warning me about Bianca one time, like that's the only time that we have shared information giving the other person a warning. So again, like the battle with Bianca, when I got to this guy, I was like, okay, this is gonna be a tough one.
It was a piece of cake.
But I obliterated the Hariyama with Lemon.
I was like, your Skarmory probably didn't have an issue at all with this Hariyama.
Now, I think somebody did die in this, but we'll wait, or I'll wait to see if hearing the last trainer's team jogs my memory. But I want to say that I tried to get cute and I sent out Camerupt against the Mamoswine to, hit it with the ice, but then it just got obliterated one shot.
I was like, that Mamoswine's Earthquake hits so hard.
Yeah. I want to say that's where Goob died. Goob did die. I just don't remember where. And he essentially contributed absolutely nothing in this run.
Hey, that's I went like my
to finally put him out, and I was like, all right, now's your chance to shine, bro. And then he didn't even get 2 attacks. He got 1 shot. But what was the rest of his team?
So Hariyama, Mamoswine, Relicanth, and Lucario. The Relicanth was doing takedowns and double edges, which I had my Feraligatr out, and Feraligatr has a decent defense, and I had the Rocky Helmet, so it was just the Relicanth was taking recoil from double edge and takedown, and taking damage from my Rocky Helmet, and taking damage from me attacking it too. So I didn't have any issues with that.
Yeah, I thought I'd keep Lemon Pepper out for Relicanth, but Steel Wing wasn't doing as much as I anticipated, so then I just put Snips in and took care of that.
Times 4 against grass. That's not it. And then Lucario was a piece of cake. I sent out Crocodile and just used Dig and killed Lucario, no problem.
You know what? Actually, that might have been what I did too. Essentially, my entire Elite Four run was carried on the backs of Lemon Pepper and Snips.
The bag of lemon
pepper. I'm not even exaggerating. I pretty much two-manned the Elite Four with those two Pokemon.
I mean, you were in our Discord. You were singing Skarmory's praise.
Yeah, and then Smokey I would use occasionally, like maybe once in 2 of the battles or something like that. I know he came in handy in that first battle against the Psychic types.
Yeah.
But he came in clutch, beat the Mon that I put him in front of when I did throw him out there. But essentially, Lemon Pepper was the real MVP. Like, I have now a new fondness for Skarmory. It is such a tough Pokemon.
Yeah, that's what I love about these Nuzlocks is finding new Pokemon that you fall in love with that you normally like, oh, I don't ever use Skarmory, and I had to use one. It's like, oh, wow, Skarmory's actually pretty great.
Yeah, he's a super tank. And then you combine that with a Rocky Helmet, and then I was able to teach him Drain Punch, which is ridiculous. But he had Fly for utility reasons, but it's still a good battle move.
Yeah.
And for a long time, Air Slash, Drain Punch, and man, what was the other move? Maybe Night Slash or something. But yeah, he was just a power. Oh no, Steel Wing was the other one.
Oh, that's right. So you Steel Wing on the Relicanth. Gotta have the
Steel Wing, Air Slash, Fly, and Drain Punch, and then he's a super tank with a Rocky Helmet. So he just
Skarmory's a menace.
A lot of work. Hey, usually I don't tend to use like single stage Pokemon because I like the
evolution
dopamine hit of of getting an evolution.
Yeah, exactly.
But man, Skarmory I like Skarmory a lot now.
So this leads us to the very last Elite Four member, Grimsley. Mind you, at this point, I've lost my Emboar and my Dugong. I have Crocodile. I have Breloom. I have Arbok. And I have Feraligatr at this point. Grimsley has a Vileplume and Espeon, a Victory Bell, and a Zebstrika. So, hey, guess what? 2 grass types, and I just lost my fire type right now. And my ice type. So I had nothing for these grass types. I had a poison type that didn't have any poison moves, mind you. Don't know if you saw that, but Arbok had no poison type moves. Sweet. I had a water type, which is weak against grass. I had a ground type, which is also weak against grass. And I had a Breloom who was not doing anything to grass types.
Oh, no.
This is where I lost the lock. Grimsley took out my team. I was able to finally kill the Vileplume, which, mind you, has Sturdy as his ability. So I couldn't even one-shot it if I wanted to because it has Sturdy. Espeon was not a problem because I had Crocodile in there. One crunch took it out. But Victory Bell, Leaf Blades, and Leaf Storms it took out my team, and I could not do much. I eventually, in fighting the Elite Four again, because I still played, I still going to beat the game. I still rolled credits on it, even though I lost the Nuzlocke. He has a Zebstrika on that team, and that Zebstrika using Wild Charge and then Discharge and everything like that was such a problem. Oh, that was the other thing. Hariyama knows Force Palm, so half my team was paralyzed at this point, too. And because again, at this point, I have no, I bought a bunch of Hyper Potions, but I had no full restores, and I had no Paralyzed heals. So going into Grimsley, I was missing 2 Pokemon, and half my team was paralyzed. So Grimsley he just took out my team. I didn't.
You hate to see it.
Yeah. How about you? Did Grimsley give you any trouble?
So now I know where my 2 deaths happened. So Goob the camera up definitely died to the Mamoswine.
Yeah.
And my team, my type compositions that I had, really the Elite Four was I was set up for success. Because of course Skarmory could handle all the grass types.
Yeah.
But I tried to get cute, and I was like, you know what?
Mike's getting cocky over here. He's playing around with things.
Yeah. So I'm like, you know what? I haven't used Elsa at all. Like, I was so excited to get Frostlass on my team. Literally have not used her more than like 2 random Pokemon.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? It knows a nice move. I'll throw it out there against like the Victory Bell. Got one attack off and pretty much got like one shot. I forget what happened, but yeah, Elsa got absolutely wrecked. So Elsa ended up dying. But after that, I just finished up shop. Like you said, the Espeon was no match for Smokey, and Skarmory, of course, handled all of the grass types. So yeah, it wasn't much of anything. And I just want to say, even though I made it through, like I'm a heavily modified Nuzlocke here, so the only reason my type compositions were as great as they were here at the end was because I caught whatever the heck I wanted.
I think the only 2 Pokemon I had in my box were a Timber, a Budew, and Zweilous. And Zweilous was like level 21 or something like that. And I was like, nope, that's not happening. So I lost the lock, but I even struggled afterward because I lost. I think I lost either 1 more or 2 more times after this, and I had no money, so I didn't have healing items. And somehow I beat the Elite Four with having 0 healing items this time, even though I wasted all my healing items the first 2 or 3 times that I fought them. But I was telling Mike this before we were recording too, is I had their whole teams laid out. So I know who to send out first. Arbok was my Hariyama counter because it resists the fighting type moves, and I just built up stockpiles and then spit up and then built up stockpiles and spit up. That's how I got through that. Having Emboar and Crocodile in the Grimsley fight made it easy. I just heat crash on the Vileplume, switch to Crocodile for the Espeon, kill the Victory Bell, and then dig on the Zip Strike, and it was not a problem. But just having Emboar in that fight made it so much easier. But
yeah,
sadly, I lost.
Yeah, that's rough, man. But I doing a traditional Nuzlocke. I've never made it past like, I mean, granted, I've only done it like maybe 2 or 3 times. I've attempted like a legit Nuzlocke.
Yeah.
And the furthest I made it was in like Leaf Green. I got like 5 gym badges and lost. So like the fact you were able to make it all the way to the Elite Four and on the last champion or the last member is nothing.
And what irks me more is like after this, like I can like they heal your team. Like eventually we'll get into the whole ends castle thing, but I could have just healed by like I was 1 step away. I was right there. I could have made it. We don't even fight end yet.
Your version of Victory Road.
You're honestly, so it was. To healing, I was so close to healing, and I died right before the finish line. I tripped and fell right before that finish line. But yes, we have. Go for it. What were you saying?
I was just gonna say. Now that we beat the Elite Four and we head into the castle, they do, like, we'll talk about the lore and stuff, but they do give you a PC in one of the rooms. So I put Goob and Elsa in the graveyard. Rip. So I think total deaths over 20 across the entire Nuzlocke. But I replaced. I of course wanted to have a 6th Mon on the squad because we're gonna have our epic finale battle against each other, and I didn't want to have 5 Pokemon. I wanted to have 6.
You gotta have 6.
So I put Musharna on the team, my Weaver.
How did you feel about Musharna? I've never used one before.
I hadn't used it until our finale battle. That definitely didn't happen before this podcast.
Yeah, we definitely haven't battled each other already yet. Yeah, okay, interesting, cool.
Yeah,
I was curious if you actually used the Musharna, but
no, like I said,
because I've never used one before.
We'll talk about N, but it's very similar to the Elite Four for me in who got used.
Skarmory is the MVP of the season, everybody. Skarmory is the MVP. Yeah, so afterward, we head up to the champions area, and N and Alder are there. N has now beat and defeated Alder, and he is the now quote-unquote champion. And he doesn't fight us here, but he says this is not the area to fight because essentially we're putting these two legendary dragons against each other, and summons his entire massive castle. And then we have this whole cutscene, and it doesn't translate too well with emulation, but I remember playing this on the DS. The cutscene happens simultaneously on the bottom and top screen, so it's very fluid. You see it like rise from the bottom screen into the top screen. Again, in a DS, there's like a gap in between that, so having everything up against each other is like a stubby like castle as it was rising up and everything, which I thought was funny. But this cutscene is wild. It's so crazy.
I was not expecting that at all.
This is what I was excited for. I was excited for you to experience. Like, you're like, oh, Elite Four, I'm going to fight N, and now he's going to be the champion. And like, nope, we have a whole castle like that we have to go through before that.
Which kind of, because when we get to, what are the Elite Four buildings usually traditionally called? I'm drawing a blank here. But wherever the Elite Four battles are held,
like Indigo Plateau and those
kind of like, I didn't know if they had like a name for
general
this
name.
But when we get out of Victory Road and up to the Elite Four, that building is very different from really any aesthetic in the entire region. So I was like, oh, that's interesting. But it kind of, I guess, makes sense that they're like building this huge castle like I guess underneath it and around it. So when it pops out, I'm like, okay, that kind of
it fits the architectural style of the Elite Four. But N challenges us and tells us to go into his castle to fight him. As we enter, we are now accosted by the 7 sages, which this is the cool part is Clay comes out and all the gym leaders come out to take on the 7 sages. So this is what I like, even if it's just like in the last part here, like the gym leaders having agency. I think Elisa or one of the gym leaders says we couldn't just stand around and let Team Plasma do what they want. And it was like, that makes sense. You're like the strong trainers of this region. You would think that there was some big like anomaly where people are trying to take over the world or destroy the world, that they would band together and try to defeat them. So I think it's really cool that they implemented the gym leaders into this fight. Again, all they do is like hold off the sages as you continue up to fight N. But again, them having agency in general is super cool to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a wild idea that the adults of the region would not trust the fate of the world in the hands of a 10-year-old.
No, 10-year-olds have the most power. You know this, Mike, in the world. They can capture gods and they can do what they want.
True. Hey, the power of imagination.
The power of imagination. I'll have to send you we talked about it a couple episodes ago, but there is a Pokemon anime that a little short one. I think it's only 13 episodes, called Pokemon Generations, and essentially they go through kind of like a main plot event in each one of the generations, but they're beautifully animated. And there's one with this scene with the castle coming down and all the gym leaders fighting all the sages and everything, and they pull like the exact quotes that each sage says as they like lift up and come up. So I'll have to send you it because it's super cool. It's really fun. But yeah, now we have to ascend this castle and go fight N. Right before, as we're ascending and going up, there's multiple rooms we can go into. Like Mike said, there's a place where we can rest, where we can use the PC. A couple of them have plasma grunts and items. And as we're going up, we talked to a Shadow Triad member and said that he pointed out a very in particular room. And as we go into this room, we find out that this is N's childhood room. And it's very like, it's weird because it's very colorful and it has very like, the music changes, but there's like this weird somber mood that's in N's room. And there's a TM in there. I don't remember what the TM was, but it's just,
it doesn't matter. Really, it's not like we could use it anyways.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't matter anyways. But we talked about it in the last episode, but this just shows more and more that like Getsus and Team Plasma are like literally grooming N to become this like hero to use the legendary Pokemon, because Getsus is unable to, so he was grooming N to do that, which is again wild for a Pokemon game to tackle those kind of topics.
Yeah. Never thought I'd see a game where Game Freak and then Nintendo signed off on grooming a child,
grooming
for
children.
World
Sounds
domination.
Good to me.
But no,
we eventually.
It was really cool to see his room, and
his
it kind
room.
of like just makes you have a little empathy for, and because
Absolutely.
I mean, N didn't get to live his own life, and like
The
he was just crafted and molded into this
into their image. The whole
weird
plot
thing.
twist that we realize, which is kind of unfortunate, but it's so cool they tackled this. That Getsis, like we said, was just using N had like a pure soul, and there was like the true hero talked about in legend that could command each one of these dragons. Our main character is one of them, and N was the other one. He's the one that was picked by Zekrom. Clearly, Getsis couldn't do that himself, so that's why he picked N as a child to do that. Because N has from the beginning, we can see that N has a deeper connection with Pokemon. He can apparently hear them talk and hear their thoughts and everything like that. And Gettis spun this whole thing about people abusing Pokemon and that we should liberate Pokemon from their trainers in order to save them. And I think N truly did believe that, but Getsis didn't believe that at all. He just wanted to rule the world. That was it.
Yeah.
The whole thing was a lie, so he can strip people of their Pokemon. So if the people have less power, then they have less ability to stand up against him when he ultimately wants to rule the world and region or whatever. So kind of unfortunate that they went back to the whole rule the world kind of like enemy plot, but I still think having the whole concept building up through this of how are we treating Pokemon and maybe we should look at that differently was a still interesting topic for sure, even though if it wasn't the main theme ending up being.
Because at least they waited until like the last 5 minutes of the game to throw the world domination angle in there.
Exactly. Yeah. Most games, like, what are you doing? We're like, I'm going to restart the universe. It's like, why? Because.
Yeah. Duh.
It's like, okay, cool. So this is now we're met with N on his throat, and now we have to fight N. And our globe and our white orb glows and summons the other legendary dragon, Reshiram. And this is where the derpy little squish screen came in because the stubby little dragon came up into play. But my Reshiram was a Spheal.
Yeah, same. It was
I was like,
so exciting.
That's underwhelming. Didn't even get a chance to use my Master Ball on anything. I was like, maybe it'd be a legendary random, like a randomized to another legendary, but now I was a Spheal. Level like 53 Spheal too.
I literally laughed out loud. And I you know what? I was just like, maybe if I catch this, it's just like maybe just what I'm seeing is random, and
it'll
if I catch
become a Reshiram.
be,
If you manifest it, it'll happen.
No, it is.
It's
a Spheal.
And then it's like, do you want to add this Spheal to your team? And I was like, no, I do not.
Yeah, I used my Master Ball just because. What else?
Oh, you used the Master Ball? Yeah. Oh, that's funny. I didn't have the heart to use a Master Ball on a Spheal.
Yep. And when they asked if I wanted to add the Spheal to my team, I was like, "Are you kidding?"
I was like, I'm literally doing the last battle.
Don't you patronize me?
Yeah, exactly. If I can get this to a Walrein, then I would have loved to. But I have 2 battles left, and there's no opportunity to train or like rare candy or anything. So I was like, no, it's not happening. But we do get into the boss fight with N, and N has a stacked team. I didn't lose anybody here, but N has Tyranitar, Executor, Gothitelle, Charizard, Garbodor, and Altaria. He has a stacked team. It was a good fight. It was a good back and forth, but I ended up getting out of that fight without losing any Pokemon.
Yeah, I go through the team one by one again.
What?
Can you go through his team just real slow, one by one?
Tyranitar.
Okay, that
Executor.
was Tyranitar. Snips obliterated.
Cool. Executor.
Skarmory obliterated.
Gothitelle.
Skarmory.
Charizard.
No. I switched in. I put Smokey in for Gothitelle.
And I imagine a dark type move just destroyed Gothitelle.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Charizard. I kept Smokey in because hold on. Is Charizard flying type?
Charizard is flying type, correct. So the ground wouldn't work on him.
I didn't keep him in. Who would I? Oh, I finally used Jax, my Lantern.
Hey, the Lantern got some action
and just smacked him with a Surf, and we were good there.
Garbodor.
Garbodor
probably got one shot by a dig from Crocodile, I imagine.
I don't know if I used him or if I put Lemon Pepper back in. because of the poison resistance, and I just hit him with a couple steel wings.
And then Altaria is the last one.
Altaria. What type is Altaria against?
Altaria is dragon flying, I
dragon
believe.
Flying. I may have switched.
Mega Altaria might be dragon. Let me look.
I might have switched Crocodile back in, or no. Another one for Jax, because we have electric there. With
Altaria is dragon flying.
So yeah, ends battle. It wasn't like I was one-shotting these guys, but I had enough type coverage to make it a pretty straightforward battle.
Yeah, me too. It was a good back and forth. Like, it was a good battle. It was at the point where, like, I never was getting just demolished, but there was a good enough back and forth where I was like, cool, like, this is a good final battle with N. After you beat him, he's defeated and he's sad. Alder and Sharon end up coming in, and I wrote down a quote which I thought was interesting. And again, deep for a Pokemon game, and it says, "Not, I don't remember the context of it, but it says, not by rejecting different ideas, but by accepting different ideas." It's like how we learn or how we grow is not by rejecting these ideas, because the whole game is about ideals and truths, but it's accepting that people can have different versions of both of those things. And I thought that was, again, that was pretty deep for this game. But
yeah,
Ghetsis is not happy about this. He is angry, and now Ghetsis comes to fight us. And Ghetsis is the final fight that we have in Pokemon Black and White. His team, much less impressive as ends. He starts with an Armaldo. He has a Cherim. He has a Golurk, a Carnivine, an Omastar, and a Snorlax. Snorlax is probably the Snorlax and the Golurk probably gave me the most issues, but I didn't have a problem with Ghetsis at all.
Lemon Pepper and Snips. Like, just,
man, these Pokemon.
I don't know, dude.
Imagine if your superior had like it actually had Contrary, it would have been broken. Do you have like Coil or anything on it, or like Leaf Storm?
I have its move set is pretty lame. I've Grass Pledge, Leaf Blade, Giga Drain, and Slam. So three grass types and a normal type. I really try to have a diverse move set, but for some reason with Snips I had 3 grass and
grass
normal
types.
Yeah.
Hey, Slam's a good move too. But yeah, we defeat Ghetsis, and he says something that's wild. Because he's like angry. He's turning around. He's yelling at N, and he's like, "Don't sympathize with him. He's nothing more than a freak without a human heart." And I was just like, damn, dude. He's just like, this is where he reveals everything. He's like, I just needed an end so he can get the dragons for me. I just was grooming him essentially. And then again, his quote is, "He's nothing more than a freak without a human heart." I was like, wow, that's wild.
Yeah. And he's actually a Zoroark. I hate saying that Pokemon's
Zoroark. Name. Who's Zoroark?
And isn't that the like crazy fan theory floating around out there? That's why you can talk to Pokemon?
Maybe. I'd believe it. That's interesting because one of the sages gifts you a Zorua in Pokemon Black 2 White 2.
Just saying.
Is that just N?
Just, yeah. He's like, here, you beat him. Now you can.
Now you can.
Now you can really stick it to him and just throw him in your box forever.
Live for eternity. Yeah. Charon and Alder end up taking Ghetsis away. And at this point, N decides he doesn't want to be part of this anymore, and sends out his Reshiram, his Zekrom, jumps out of the Zekrom and flies into the sunset. And then we get credits. And that is all for Pokemon Black and White. The last notable thing I had was the credits music is very good. It's very pretty.
Yeah, it was, man. I really liked this game. Was really awesome. Mm-hmm. And even though we were playing it randomized, it doesn't randomize the story or the characters. So
yeah,
I was glad to get to experience the story, get to experience the region of Unova. Mm-hmm. A lot of people in our Discord have talked about how cool they thought Unova was.
Yeah.
And I'd say it holds up to all the positive affirmation it was getting in our Discord every time it would come up in conversation. Yeah, so I'm really glad that you suggested this game.
That's
It's a
awesome.
really interesting story and super
It
fun
really does.
playthrough.
Yeah,
And
I'm
I
glad you had
think
I'm glad you had a good time.
Yeah, I also think this game solidified my love for the DS, and I know it's a hot take to like Generation 5's like battle animations and all that
I
stuff,
like them.
but
I think they're
I
great.
love like the feel and the look of this game on the DS, even though I was playing on my phone, because
Yeah.
emulation rules. Like, holy crap, this might be my favorite style visually.
Yeah.
Um,
It's definitely grown on me. Again, when this game first came out, it got slammed for this art style, and because it was really pushing the DS's limits, and it wasn't 3D yet, but they were trying, but it was still sprites, and I would say at first they are a little awkward, but I think that kind of adds to the charm of the sprites. I
mhm,
think just the little like individual movements give the Pokemon personality. In games prior, we had animations with the initial sending out of a Pokemon. They would do kind of a little animation, but I like the little like back and forth that they do, almost like a fighting game when you're standing around and the characters have like a little idle
yeah,
animation. I really like it. I think it holds up very well, and I think that the DS Pokemon games, especially Black and White, are fantastic. Black 2, White 2, uh I think it's better, but the only reason I think Black and White 2 is better is because Black and White. Like Black, the sequels built off the first one, so the sequels would not be anywhere without the first one, but I definitely think that they improved off of this sequel. So excited to get to
yeah.
that point eventually in
Yeah,
our Pokemon adventures.
that's definitely going to have to be a future season for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Just
And
because,
we should take some time between it, because then it's an actual time skip. Because then time's gone by. You're like, oh man,
yeah,
it's been a while since I've seen these characters, and they're all back.
yeah. How long is it in game?
It's between 2 and 5 years. I think it's
Okay, yeah,
5 years after
we
Black
could
and
do
White.
that. I mean, we got
Yeah,
plenty
we'll
of
just wait.
ideas. So
Yeah, we'll just wait 5 years. That's fine. We'll just do actual time, and then it'll be
yeah,
perfectly fine. But
we'll
yeah,
go
that.
the old school like actual in game like day rotations for
Oh,
for night and day.
yeah.
um, so while you were talking, I trust me, I was listening, but I was also googling
Hmm.
to just confirm this theory about N being a
Okay.
Zoroark. And it is actually a theory. There are multiple
Interesting.
articles on it, but yeah, the theory is that he's Zoroark because Zoroark is known for being a master of illusionary tricks,
Yes.
consistently being able to fool humans with false imagery and misdirection. And it says that N himself may be one of the illusions controlled by Zoroark. At first, such a concept seems to have no correlation or connection to N's character, but upon further inspection, there's a startling amount of evidence to suggest otherwise, and one of which may be the biggest proponent being that line from Getsus at the end of him being a freak
Without
without
a
a
human heart.
human heart.
Well, now I just
Probably
want.
pulling at straws, but it's fun to think about. You
I
never
don't.
know.
I don't remember if it ends in Black 2, White 2.
Plus,
It's been a
he
minute.
claims he can hear
You talk
and
to
talk with your
Pokemon.
Pokemon.
It
I'm
makes
just
sense.
saying.
It makes
He's
sense. We're
got the
giving all the theories.
crazy long hair,
Like
much like
Zoroark.
Zoroark's like little mane thingy.
That would have been wild to add this last thing. Like before he jumps on the Zekrom, he just like takes off a Scooby Doo mask and he's just Zoroark. And then him and Zoroark and Zekrom just fly into the sunset and fall in love together. That's the Pokemon
Yeah,
ending
there
that I
you go.
want.
Then they start their
Yeah.
own mystery dungeon game.
Then they start. I could see them on a rescue team. Honestly, they could be the evil team or the good team.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. Well, that is all for our season 1 Nuzlocke of Pokemon Black and White. And the only thing that we have to do left is pit these two teams against each other and battle in the death
Yes.
match. That is the end of this, which we've already done. So you can go and check
Yeah.
that out on the website. There should be a video up there where you can go and you can watch the video and see who came out victorious. And what's
Yes.
important about who comes out victorious here is our season 2. We are going to be doing another challenge run of a little ROM hack called Pokemon Row. If you don't know what Pokemon Row is a ROM hack of Pokemon Emerald that essentially makes the game open world. All narrative points, all exploration inhibitors like strength rocks and surf and all that have been taken out. You can surf from the very beginning. You can do all that from the start. You can randomize it in game. You can pick which town you're going to start in. Mike and I are going to be starting in the same town and then branching out to wherever we want. Our only stipulation is we have to have 2 gym battles beaten for every episode. So come along and see our journey in what teams and what the gyms we're going to be tackling and what order we're going to be doing it in. And the challenge for this run is Mike and I will be drafting drafting. It's been a long time. Drafting Pokemon types. So I at least for myself, I'm still going to follow the normal Nuzlocke rules of Pokemon dying and whatnot. But in terms of encounters, we're not going to be limiting how many Pokemon we can encounter in each run because we're already going to be inhibited by the types we're allowed to catch.
Yes.
And the importance of the battle was the winner of this battle will get to choose the types first.
Yeah. So how this is going to work, Jared mentioned drafts, so I don't know if we have any sports fans out there. Maybe, probably not. I mean, we're talking about Pokemon, so I'm going to say there's probably not a lot of crossover there, but you never know.
A little bit.
But so how the draft's going to work, we picked 4 types, which I'm not going to reveal right now, but there are 4 types automatically off the board that neither of us can use.
Correct.
And then we're going to rotate. We're going to take turns picking 1 type each until the remaining 14 types have been totally picked. So at the end of the draft, we're each going to own 7 types, and our team can only consist of Pokemon of those types. So that's kind of the challenge. It's interesting. I'm super excited. I've always wanted to do some type of type restriction.
I've never done like a mono or type restriction run, so it's going to be interesting. The other thing is we are allowed, because a lot of Pokemon are dual types, and from the name of the game and us drafting typings, we might not get every type to correlate with that. We are allowed 1 mulligan. You can have 1 Pokemon that shares one of your types. So if you have a Pokemon that is fire flying, or if you have normal flying and you only have the flying type under your belt, or if you only have the fire type under your belt, you can use that 1 mulligan to have a Pokemon, a dual type that doesn't have the type that you have.
Yeah. It's a mouthful, but you'll understand. We'll definitely go through the rules. Make sure you stay tuned for an announcement about that. And I believe in between seasons here, we're going to make it a thing to have kind of a one-off episode where we talk with other lovers of Pokemon about fun things. Maybe get Pokemon content creators of some sort on for interviews, things of that nature. So here at a little bit shortly after season 1 ends, we'll have one of those interstitial episodes, and then season 2 will start sometime. But in the meantime,
when it starts,
in the meantime, go watch the epic battle that we had before we recorded this episode and see who secured the number 1 pick. I mean,
who's the Pokemon master? Only you will know after you watch that. The other thing to keep in mind,
plus like us, because we already did it.
Well, we know,
and then like anyone else who watches the video. But
that's true.
It could maybe, depending on how quickly you watch it, you could be the first person to know. I don't know.
That's true. You should go there right now and listen to it. I mean, watch it. I mean, I guess you can listen to it too. You don't have to watch it because we're talking to. But
that's true.
The other thing is season 2 for everybody here on PlayAlongPod.com will be on the PokéBoys podcast. So season 2 will be living over there. So all of you head over there, and that's what we'll be continuing our journey, as we talked about in the beginning of this kind of mini pseudo podcast that we're doing alongside our existing podcast is going to be bouncing between both of our shows every season. So season 2 will be on the PokéBoys podcast. So make sure you go over there and check them out.
Heck yeah. Thanks, man. Appreciate that. And it's definitely not because we're too lazy to go through all of the hoops of all the other things you have to do.
Also, a little behind the curtains for all of y'all. Yes, that is the reason, because making another podcast is a pain in the ass, and I don't want to have to do it. But it makes it easier for us because we already have content coming out on our shows, so we don't have to like feel tied down by any of this. Some behind the scenes. By the time you're listening to this or even the first episode, we've finished recording. We've bulked these up so that we are done by the time you hear it. So
it's been literal months since we've played Pokemon Black. Okay, maybe not that long, but
maybe a few weeks. Maybe we've already recorded season 2 by the time you heard this. Maybe
you never know.
You never know. Well, with that, we're going to get out of here for season 1. Make sure to stay tuned to our socials and the website for our little interstitial episode that will be coming out in between season 1 and season 2. But until then, guys, we will see you next time with more Pokemon content. Peace out.
Bye.